190.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua's gigantic.
So big.
He's so big. He's so much bigger. So, of course, like, his punch that he knocks Tyron Woodley out cold with, Joshua just eats it.
Yeah.
As Jake felt his punching power, those doubts AJ seeded in his mind were surely consuming Jake's inner monologue, because what was occurring in the fight validated what AJ had said.
I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is, and I saw Callum Simpson, the fight should have been stopped way before it was.
Joe Rogan reacts strongly to Anthony Joshua following Jake Paul's career-threatening knockout. He explains that Joshua's size and power are simply overwhelming, describing him as physically massive compared to Paul. Rogan highlights how Joshua landed a devastating right-hand punch with full force, a shot so powerful it fractured Jake Paul's jaw. He stresses the extreme gap in strength and physicality, making it clear that stepping into the ring with someone of Joshua's stature presents an entirely different and far more dangerous challenge. Rogan goes on to describe the severity of Jake Paul's injuries from the fight, revealing that Paul lost teeth and absorbed multiple brutal shots. He explains that Jake is now struggling to eat properly, showing just how serious the damage was. Rogan warns that repeatedly taking fights against much larger opponents could eventually end Paul's career. He emphasizes the long-term risks of mismatched bouts and criticizes the idea of risking health for entertainment value or record building. Rogan urges Jake to carefully reconsider future matchups in order to protect his health and long-term future in the sport.
The fact that Anthony Joshua is going to connect with a bomb and breaks his jaw in 2 places.
Yeah. And
He's fucked. His jaw's wired shut now. He lost teeth.
See, I mean, he made it to the 6th round.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Did they put your teeth back in when they pop out like that, or are they gone forever?
I don't know. But it's just wired shut for like 6 weeks now.
Yeah. You got to eat nothing but protein shakes. Bro.
Oof.
I mean, look, it's a crazy world. The thing is that I would...
Psychologist Derek Van Schick highlights the extreme danger Jake Paul faced against Anthony Joshua, explaining that the injuries were far from minor. He points out that Joshua's power, accuracy, and experience created a highly dangerous environment inside the ring. Van Schick focuses on the crushing right-hand punch that fractured Jake's lower jaw in 2 places, explaining that such injuries cause not only immediate pain and difficulty eating, but can also lead to long-term career consequences. He stresses that fighting a larger, more experienced opponent greatly increases the risk of serious, even life-altering damage. According to Van Schick, this fight is a clear reminder that mismatched bouts, while entertaining for viewers, can push athletes into extremely dangerous situations that demand caution and respect for boxing's risks. Ben Shalom delivers a strong critique of the Anthony Joshua vs. Jake Paul fight, calling it a dangerous spectacle that went too far. He argues that while some crossover fights can be treated as entertainment, this matchup carried serious physical risks that were ignored. Shalom claims the fight was driven mainly by financial incentives, placing profit above fighter safety. He also criticizes the officiating, suggesting the bout should have been stopped earlier to prevent severe injury. According to Shalom, allowing the fight to continue crossed a critical line, turning a regulated sport into a potentially catastrophic situation. He warns that prioritizing money and spectacle over health sets a dangerous precedent for boxing.
Your worldview, Ben, on the Jake Paul Anthony Joshua circumstance. I mean, a lot of people talking about the discredit it does to boxing. I don't put it in the category of boxing, I put it in the category of entertainment and Anthony Joshua being introduced to America as a media star. What's your overall view of what it does or doesn't do for boxing? Jake Paul being licensed in a fight that many people think that he shouldn't have been licensed to fight, in a commission that often does that. As a promoter, do you think it's a bad look for boxing, or are you thinking it doesn't really matter, it's not really what boxing's about?
I usually and have said in the past that things can be things, you've got to take it for what they are. But in this occasion, I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is. And I saw Callum Simpson, the fight should have been stopped way before it was, but was in trouble on Saturday night. It's all a bit of fun and it's all a money grab until someone gets seriously hurt, seriously damaged. And then the whole sport comes into disrepute. For me, it makes a mockery of the sport of boxing. For me, no one in the industry wants to talk badly about it because everyone's lined, the pockets are getting lined. And when you look at that, and kids will look at that, and fans will look at that, and sponsors will look at that and think that that is boxing, as I say, we're one punch away from something serious. And yeah, it's
but Ben, on the flip side of that argument, mate, you will tell me that you knew that Chris Eubank wasn't right to go into that fight.
No, but Simon, let's be completely honest, right? Whatever you want to say about that fight, these are two experienced professional fighters. Chris Eubank Jr. has been in fights previously in his career where he's not been 100% for.
Jake Paul faced extreme danger when he stepped into the ring against a much bigger and taller Anthony Joshua. Throughout the fight, Paul was repeatedly knocked down to a knee, each fall putting him at serious risk of ligament damage or long-term injury. These moments echoed past examples, such as Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.'s injury against Sergio Martinez, where repeated knockdowns took a lasting physical toll. The fight clearly showed how risky it was for Paul to challenge someone with Joshua's size, strength, and experience, highlighting the severe physical cost of facing an opponent of that level.
You're in there with a bigger, taller person, so keep taking the knee. First of all, your knee, you can get ligament damage. Remember when Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was losing every round to Sergio Martinez, and then Martinez fell to the ground kind of weird? He messed up his knee. He was never the same fighter. So you got a broken jaw, but you could have tore ligaments in your knee by having a 260-pound man, fall on top of you because you keep making it sloppy and falling around and spilling about. And even if you don't like rupture something or tear a ligament or whatever, it's not really much better than someone leaning on you. Do you know how much energy you exert by having to be like 220 pounds or whatever, 216, and keep picking yourself back up? Like I seen the thing, I didn't count myself, but it said there were 12 or 13, maybe 14 times that Jake Paul was on the canvas. Horrible strategy. And Netflix, I don't even see how they would like that. And for me, this generation they're chopped, bro. Jake Paul did all this, and y'all want me to give a bunch of credit. Jake Paul did all this talking about Joshua getting knocked out. You did whatever to sell the fight, but you didn't make good. That doesn't make you look good when you talk crazy and talk spicy, and then you have no intentions of fulfilling that. And then you got the Jake Paul fans and the Andrew Tate fans, because they lost kind of back to back, where they're trying their hardest to turn this into some inspirational story. Like, oh, As long as you're
Brendan Schaub offered a blunt and realistic take on Jake Paul's matchup against Anthony Joshua, stating clearly that the idea of Paul winning was never truly realistic. He pointed to the massive gap in skill, experience, and ring intelligence between the two fighters. According to Schaub, Joshua's power, precision, and strategic awareness placed him on an entirely different level. While social media hype and fan excitement fueled belief in an upset, the reality inside the ring told a very different story. Schaub suggested the bout was built more as a spectacle than a legitimate contest, highlighting how promotional attention cannot replace real boxing fundamentals, especially when facing an elite heavyweight like Joshua.
The way this should be marketed is not, can Jake Paul beat Anthony Joshua? That's insane. That's not real. That's not real in any facet. There was never a chance. There's never a chance. And the Jake Paul fans, and I was getting this a ton from DMs and comments going, well, everyone has a puncher's chance. That's an uneducated opinion. A puncher's chance, yes. If they're in a bar and Anthony Joshua's there at the pub and Jake Paul were to sneak up behind him and hit him in the back of the head or, in the side or something, maybe, even then, he's a little light in the ass, but maybe that's a puncher's chance. In a professional bout where a professional fighter at the level of Anthony Joshua was at, and he is going into a ring knowing and expecting to get hit, there is no puncher's chance when there's that much discrepancy in talent level. There's not, especially when the size difference. And some of you will say, Jake Paul hits hard. To you, yes, to you. But also, Jake Paul hits hard for a 200-pound man. He wouldn't even measure in the top 1,000 professional heavyweight boxers in the world as far as the strength knockout meter, if there is such a thing. It's not possible. So a lot of you were tuning in for saying, well, he has a puncher's chance. That's not real. That doesn't exist here. And now they could do this, but I don't think it's going to get the same amount of views, but it would set expectations. If, when this fight was announced, Jake Paul's team said, hey, we're fighting Anthony Joshua, who thinks we can?
Boxing analysts were quick to note that Jake Paul's fight against Anthony Joshua exposed clear limitations in his overall boxing ability. Although Paul has built a large following through crossover boxing, facing a world-class heavyweight revealed major gaps in stamina and conditioning. Observers pointed out that maintaining performance against a seasoned professional is far more demanding than Paul's previous matchups suggested. Technical flaws also became more visible, from footwork and defensive positioning to ring awareness. Analysts emphasized that popularity and hype cannot substitute years of professional training. The fight served as a reality check, reinforcing that true boxing success requires discipline, adaptability, and consistency at the highest level.
Train, or you put on a pair of boxing gloves. That does not mean that you will be perceived as legitimate. It doesn't mean people will be willing to pay to watch you fight. Me personally, I was done with Jake Paul after the pretend fight that he had with Mike Tyson last year. Clearly, I'm not the only one, because viewership for his fight last weekend with Anthony Joshua, it was significantly lower than a real fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford.
Derek Chisora delivered a candid assessment of Jake Paul's bout with Anthony Joshua, making it clear that simply stepping into the ring does not automatically earn respect. He stressed that real bravery in boxing goes beyond showing up. It demands preparation, technical skill, and smart decision-making under pressure. Chisora dismissed the praise being directed at Paul, arguing that it ignored the reality of the matchup. According to him, taking punishment or surviving a dangerous fight does not equal credibility. Respect in boxing is earned through skill, strategy, and consistent performance, not through spectacle alone. His comments reinforced the difference between entertainment value and genuine sporting achievement.
You're fighting someone who you're supposed to it's not supposed to look competitive, he's not supposed to hit you, he's not supposed to go more than 3 rounds, but at the same time, you need to know how to control the pressure. I think AJ's demeanor in the build-up was someone who was like, you know what, everyone's saying these things, but this is how I see it. yeah, I rate him. He can box a bit. He did say in an interview with Steve Bunce that like, when he was talking certain things, there's a part of me that wants to punch him in his face, but I'm just gonna chill. And I feel like that's how he handled the immense pressure.
The last time we saw AJ fuming like this, like when he actually tried to do something, was with Dylan. So we should not judge him when he says something like this, because when he don't say nothing, we say, oh, why is he not saying anything back?
Yeah.
And when he says something, we're like, oh, what did you say that for? You know, so the guy is not gonna win with anybody, because if he says something, you like, oh, you guys go against him. If he does not, so he's just madness. So
yeah, and Eddie said that as much as that, because we asked him. Well, I asked him about the comments about when AJ didn't threaten to kill Jake, but he said, if I can kill you, I will. And Eddie said, look, people say he's too media trained and he's too boring, and then when he says something, everyone's up in arms about it. So I understand that.
That's why I think it's balanced. That's why I think the build-up was actually balanced, because he said, if I can kill you, I'll kill you. That shows you I'm not.
And as the week went on, at the weigh-in, he started to show his frustration.
Yeah, don't touch my face. Like, it's not.
The fight against Anthony Joshua ultimately became both a spectacle and a warning. Analysts agreed that Jake Paul's social media-driven fame and prior wins could not compensate for the reality of facing a true heavyweight. Experience, preparation, and technical skill proved far more important than bravado or promotional hype. Many experts emphasized that safety must remain a priority, warning against the risks of pushing fighters beyond their competitive readiness. The bout highlighted the limitations of crossover boxing and raised concerns about how financial incentives can outweigh sporting integrity. Paul's injuries served as a stark reminder of the dangers involved when high-profile mismatches prioritize spectacle over genuine competition.
Before getting in the ring with him. And I think a lot of things were revealed inside the ring. All the grabbing of the leg and stuff like that. That shouldn't have been. That almost looked like, it reminded me of Troy. You guys remember Troy when Orlando Bloom's character grabbed his brother's leg, You know what I mean? It looked like he was desperately scared, but I think he should have been desperately scared, because AJ was coming to hurt him. This wasn't a Mike Tyson fight. He wasn't 58 years old. This dude is 36. And Anthony Joshua, like he said, because I've heard AJ say stuff like that. Hey, I'm going to F you up. He said the same thing to Helenius, because he thought Helenius was looking at him crazy. And it's like, what do you, why are you looking at me like that? Right? And Helenius like, huh? And what happened to Helenius? He got knocked out, and needless to say, he tested positive for something. But yeah, so if you hear AJ say, hey, I'm gonna F you up, oh yeah, that's what he means. And I think Jake Paul knew it. He avoided a lot of big shots at the beginning of that fight, But then as AJ started getting closer and those punches started to getting, more in range of hitting him, the grabbing happened a lot, more. He started gripping off for dear life. And, $90 million, would anyone do it though?
For more hard-hitting boxing content, hit like, subscribe to Boxing Corner, and let us know your opinion in the comments.